There you go. If you are a small business owner or solopreneur, one of the biggest barriers to growing your business can be your nervous system. We have certain capacities and limitations, and this is such a challenge, not just cognitively and skill set, but it's a huge challenge in terms of your nervous system. We're usually expanding as people, taking on really challenging experiences that might trigger us or push us to properly grow our businesses. We want to develop the skill set to find our way back to regulation. We also have a high percentage of things like depression and anxiety. It's something we as entrepreneurs face. So, what we're going to talk about today is the three main challenges that come up for us small business owners when we talk about our nervous system and how we can kind of start to work through those and harness our own abilities to regulate ourselves so that we can keep growing as a business owner and we don't get stalled with these type of stuff. So today we have Michele. She is a nurse psychotherapist. I first met Michele attending one of her workshops on this topic because I knew how important it was. And it's something I regularly lean into as I grow my business. And I've worked with Michele in other ways now, and I'm really excited that she's bringing this skill set to small business owners and solopreneurs. So, Michele, can you tell me a bit about your business, why you started it, and what you do?
Sure. And thank you so much, Cheyenne, for this today, for inviting me. I am the owner of From Showers to Soleil Counseling, and I am a nurse psychotherapist. I've been a nurse for 35 years, and in that time, I wore a lot of hats. But it was when I, a few years ago, went through my own personal journey through a severe anxiety and depression that inspired this, career path for me. So now I have this virtual counseling business for adults of all ages, helping people navigate their struggles with anxiety or other emotional struggles. My mission is to bring the things I learned through my own personal journey and then things that I learned since and with the training that I now have to kind of impart that on others. I got through it so others can too. That's my why.
Oh, it's a beautiful why. It's so empowering to see. I work with a lot of small business owners, and it's part of being human, but it comes out even more when you're trying to build a business and you're tackling everything that comes out. Could you tell me three common challenges that you see with small business owners and solopreneurs when it comes to their nervous system and going through this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. This past year, I've been a solopreneur myself. So I've been facing these challenges as well. I think number one is that stress is not just stress. The stress is a signal that the nervous system is in an alarm state. Often in our, we have a stress culture now. So, it's just like who isn't stressed and everybody just sort of like, rolls their eyes and just shrugs it off and this is just it. The other thing too is that, unfortunately, we often kind of see people wearing their stress as a badge of honor. I've been noticing that a lot as well too. So we do live in a stress culture. But the thing of it is that we can't dismiss stress as just stress because it's impacting literally our physical health, our mental and emotional health. So having that awareness that we can't just dismiss the stress, and especially when we're going into business, right, where everything is like new and it's going to be challenging to the nervous system. So really have to like, this is the time to learn how to manage the stress so that you can have, you can deal with, the just stresses and demands of your business.
100%. And I think if there's ever a place where stress culture is amplified, it's in business. We definitely glory how busy we are and how stressed we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the next thing, as you were saying, three. So the next thing is just the idea of drive. And this has been a personal challenge for me, I think, this past year. So just this idea that we have two sides of drive. So we have like the business side where we have those external and internal pressures. So we have, like all the to-dos and all the things that have to get done. And then we have those internal pressures of wanting to succeed. And then on the other side of that, we have the heart and the passion of our business, which drives us, right? So we can get caught up a little bit in, we have the pressures of the business, but then we also have that passion, which can keep us going. So I think we're really at risk of overdoing it, of overdriving ourselves because of that. It's kind of a bit of a two-edged sword. So, learning to like make that discernment sometimes of what is driving us is a challenge. And I think that's a really, really tricky balance to find. Especially, when we're in business, because we do have that passion element. We want to do this stuff. We're excited about it. But it comes with the risk of overdriving.
Yeah, especially for women. And we're going to talk about the workshop we have coming up for women entrepreneurs specifically. We can also overgive because we are so heart centered. And sometimes we're not charging enough because of that. We're not recognizing that need for balance. That's a really great point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what was your third point?
Oh, my third point. Keep forgetting my points. My third point was just the idea of like comparisons. And then what goes with that is that imposter syndrome. So, when we're in business and we tend to surround ourselves, with like-minded people and people who are also growing and launching businesses. So it's impossible not to notice what other people are doing. So we can get into the insecurities of that. And as well with imposter syndrome, it seems to be something that's universal for sure. It doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. It doesn't matter, what your experience is, what your credentials are. It doesn't matter any of that. It's a universal thing. And of course, we're all wired for connection. So when we get into business, it's just kind of like having this gigantic mirror in front of you that's just showing you but all of your fears, all of your insecurities, all of your doubts. So that's a really, really big challenge. And especially then if you're someone who's not taking care of managing your nervous system, it can then get really, really stressful because then you have all the demands of your business, plus you have all of these internal things that are happening. So it's really like when you go into business, this is your opportunity now for some personal growth because it's either going to take you down or you're going to use it for your personal growth.
So true. I credit going into business for so much of my personal growth because you either are able to rise to the occasion and you're able to grow and expand and you're able to build the skill set, or you bail because it becomes so overwhelming and so much. And one of the common threads I always see is it's almost never a lack of capacity to build a business and to earn an income through your business. It's these nuanced things that actually make us end up retreating because it's just so overwhelming. All of those things are so true. I've worked with over 150 small business owners, and the common problems are almost always something that's more personal in that way. And we need the skills to work through it, which is one of the things that you teach. You have a workshop coming up, and then you have another one that you're going to do around tapping. I remember learning tapping from you. I love tapping, and it was like such an easy, accessible skill. I love it. When someone has invested in learning nervous system management skills through that type of stuff, tapping and other approaches, how do you see that shift things for them in terms of these struggles and challenges that we face so often?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, no one is going to be walking around with a perfectly regulated nervous system 24/7, right? We're human beings with a nervous system. So it's just not going to happen. But we can certainly build up the skill, and it's like a muscle, right? We build it up and it strengthens with time and it takes practice. And it really is a lifestyle. It's that important. It's just is something that you have to do. So in terms of like, like that stress is not just stress. If we are, if we take that awareness and we practice the nervous system management, then, we build that skill to pay attention to what our signs are and know what our signs are, because my signs of stress may be different from somebody else's, right? And then also knowing our threshold, right? Knowing when we're approaching our threshold, knowing when we've gone over our threshold. I think we develop less tolerance for being in a place where we are close to our threshold or over our threshold. And that just comes with time and building and practice. And I think also too, we just develop, more of a permission to take the breaks that we need to take, to do the things that we need, to do to take the pressure off, right? To give ourselves a little bit of grace.
Yeah, self-care is a business investment.
Yeah.
It's an asset. Once you realize to recognize these stages, you see them coming and you're like, nope, if I go there, I get less productive. I get da 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 da. And you actually retract and you give whatever it is your system needs to come back.
Exactly. And then you come back faster as well. So it's not that you're not going to have times where, you're overwhelmed, but you're going to come back faster as well. And then like in terms of drive, then I think in time as well, it helps us to build a stronger center so that we can have that discernment. We can discern better whether we are being driven just by the whole like stress load am I being driven by the heart and the passion? So I think that again, we're more willing to give ourselves that permission to pause or take a break or change our plan or change course and give ourselves a little bit of grace. It really is like the nervous system management is really about practicing having kindness for yourself. I mean, that's how you learn to love yourself and have kindness for yourself. Really, if you want to learn how to do that, then start practicing managing your nervous system.
That one can be so hard for those of us who are high performers. We're like, no, just go harder, go faster. But I will say I 100% know from even my own experience, it was when I slowed down and got softer with myself that I became more productive. It's funny how it's actually about kindness.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. We learn that because the driving piece can be about like cracking that whip, right? Or it can be like, taking yourself by the hand and being gentle with yourself. And then it's true, you do become more productive, because then you're coming more from a more rested and relaxed, and authentic centered place.
Yeah, it really.
No. Yeah. Which helps with the energy. So, yeah. And then the final thing then was so with the comparisons and the imposter syndrome, then. So if you are someone who's working on managing your nervous system, then you are going to take care of your stuff, right? Because, our business, we bring ourselves into our business, which means that we're bringing in our insecurities, we're bringing in our experiences, we're bringing in our traumas, we're bringing in our beliefs, we're bringing in all of that stuff. So kind of like we were saying before about the idea of personal growth. So that becomes front and center as well. That becomes just as much of a priority, as your business. You're using it as an opportunity for that personal growth. And yeah, so it's just that opportunity for that personal growth.
I love that you brought in the imposter syndrome and comparison. It's not one I think about often, but it's very true. It doesn't matter how much you tell yourself logically, like, oh, we're all doing our own thing. Your mind is still going to pick up, like, oh, well, they started at the same time as me. And like, oh, they're in the same thing as me. Everything is individual because businesses, especially if you're a solopreneur or you have a small team, it's you bring to the table and there's no replicating. So even if you have the same type of business, you're offering the same type of service, it's not the same because we all have our own nervous system, our own triggers, our own trauma, our own experiences. 100%. I love that you brought that into the conversation because I do think imposter syndrome is another one that it can have people turn away from business because it can be too overwhelming. And understanding it's part of the journey and that there are skills to cope with it is such a crucial element to being able to continue to grow your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Yeah.
No, thank you. So you have a workshop coming up for WeCan. It's going to be this Thursday when this goes out, which is October 24th. It's from 10 to 11:30, and it's all about easing your business stress, which I love. I think if there's anything we can all connect to, it is business stress. And it's talking about the same conversation, nervous system management for women entrepreneurs. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's going to kind of, talk a little bit about why stress is not just stress and why, nervous system management matters. And then it's also going to be about actually doing some practice. So it's going to be having some time to just take that pause and take that break so that you will go through a few, exercises that will help to kind of calm and relax so that you can kind of have that pause for yourself in your day that day and leave feeling a little bit more relaxed than when you came in.
I love that you build embodiment into your workshops. You're not just about giving people the cognitive pieces and the theory. I'm a very cognitive person, so I can kind of like, I know it's crazy, like my mechanism is intellectualization, so I can lean too far in that direction. I really hope that you take the opportunities you have with the workshops, especially for women in business. I think a lot of us can get in our heads and you're like, no, we're going to come down into our bodies and we're going to actually sit in with now. I think that's a brilliant use of the time that you get with people.
Well, this is it because we couldn't really talk about strategies today, but it really comes down to strategies and practice. And okay, what is that? It's like it's a lifestyle. So it's not just something to know it. You actually have to do it. And that's why it's such a challenge for people to actually do that, to actually take the time because it does take time, right? I mean, you're already really busy. It's hard to take the time to come into your body and actually take that pause. You need to, but you're not willing to actually do it, and to feel your feelings and all of that stuff. That takes time and it's not something that's valued in society.
Usually we're running away from it as hard and as fast as we can.
What we're trained to do. Exactly. Exactly. So that's why I'm all about bringing it right in. Yeah.
I love it. So after your weekend workshop, you're also going to run one on tapping. Can you briefly tell me about that one?
Yeah, so that one's still a little bit in the works. But basically, what it involves is taking, kind of combining like art therapy with EFT tapping. So I'll be kind of like leading through the exercise. People will bring in something that's on their mind and, work toward resolution on, that stress, using drawing, and tapping.
I love
So
that.
it's really fun. I'm really excited to be able to do that. So more details will, be coming along about that. And I'm launching a newsletter. So that's available for sign up now as well on my website.
Sure. I'm going to include links to all of the things we've discussed about today about Michele and where you can get a hold of her and contact her for more information, and a link to her workshop, which I highly recommend attending. These skills that Michele teaches you, like she's saying, they're very actionable. It's something, if you were in the middle of something to do with your business that has got you worked up and you can recognize that you're stressed out or you're getting really anxious, she gives you tools that you can actually sit with yourself and you can bring yourself back to center. It takes time to process emotions always, but it's a really solid tool to have in your toolkit. And Michele's really good at teaching you and bringing it to very grounded practice. This is very realistic. It's very everyday. I really appreciated this. I'm really excited for your workshop. I think you have a lot of value to bring to small business owners, solopreneurs. So I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Cheyenne. A pleasure.
Great.